At dawn, Brenda Howe's SUV roared through my cornfield like a robed buffalo, flattening stalks and crashing into my Scarecrow. Sam with a brutal snap of wood and straw, the SUV barely slowed as Sam's head flew off, landing on her hood like a grim hello. I stood on my porch, coffee and handjaw slack, as Brenda reversed over his remains for good measure, and sped off as if she hadn't just executed a Scarecrow in cold daylight. That when I knew Brenda wasn't your typical bad neighbor, she was a tempest heading my way, convinced my farm was her playground. Sam had watched over this land long before Brenda arrived with her spotless McMansion and HOA swagger. He was weathered one button eye, gone straw, poking from his sleeves. But he had soul. Every kid in town knew Sam. Every bird respected him, come a fall festival. He stood front and center, freshly painted with a goofy grin. He was as much the farm as the creaky barn or the rusty tractor that still grumbled to life on chilly mornings to Brenda. Though Sam was a blight and Eeyore, she'd sneered during her rare grading visits to my fence line. She'd moved in 6 months ago, snagging the old Dawson place across the road, hell-bent on turning our town into her suburban utopia rules, clipped hedges and all wildflowers, rustic charm and Scarecrow, not her style. I figured she'd soften, small town life often. Mellow's the rigid, but Brenda didn't bend. She calcified first. She griped about my fence too rustic, not her plastic white ideal. Then Sam spooked her yippy dog, a fluff ball on stilts, by her third visit. She wasn't suggesting she was ordering. I brushed her off farmer style, but Brenda didn't take kindly to being dismissed. That's when the chaos kicked off, the first time Sam went down. I chalked it up to a fluke, tire tracks in the mud, maybe a slippery turn after rain. I rebuilt him, not perfect but upright by dusk. 2 days later, he was flat again, tire marks tracing back to Brenda's drive, her SUV's bumper print stamped on his chest like a calling card. I might have laughed if it wasn't so maddening at the feed store. Brenda smirked, maybe put him somewhere safer, and winked. Winked, I'm not one to brawl over straw and sticks, but I don't let folks trample my land either. Sam was family, crafted by my dad when I was a kid, chasing hens barefoot, every dent. Every patch told the tale twice in a week. Brenda crushed him that night, porch sitting as the sun dipped. I knew this wasn't ending with a chat she'd drawn. First blood grinning like she just begged. Gone strike 3. Hit Saturday while I was in town grabbing lumber. Brenda finished Sam off. I came home to straw-splintered wood and a shred of his flannel flapping in the breeze worse. A note pinned where he'd stood in bold, loopy scrawl. Get a real decoration. Brenda anger surged not just for Sam, but for her goal, thinking she could waltz in and rule my land. Maybe it was time to show her some folks fight quiet. I hauled Sam's remains to the barn, set them on Dad's old workbench. Tools and half-done projects still scattered, and saw it. Brenda hadn't just smashed a Scarecrow, she'd given me a reason to play by farm rules she didn't quit. Sam's demise fueled her. I patched him up again. She waited for a stormy night. Lightning flashed as I found him face down, shredded in mud. Tire ruts from her place glowing in the rain. Her tail lights faded smugly into the dark next morning. She waved from her porch, leopard robe, coffee in hand, like she hadn't played Crash Derby on my field. This was about power now, testing my limit. Folks wiser than raccoons know when to stop. Brenda didn't word spread Earl at the hardware store, grinned, handing me nails. Scarecrow, trouble, Maggie at the diner, whispered need, help rebuilding him. I appreciated it, but this was mine to settle. Brenda cruised by nightly. First she slowed, smirking at Sam's limp form. Second she yelled, give it up, farm guy, and sprayed gravel peeling out. I said nothing, gears turning the fourth hit. She parked on him, phone in hand, casual, as if my field were her lot. I stared from the porch until she left Sam, pulped beneath her tires that night. Barn steps under me, wind thick with earth. And hey, I recalled, Dad, every problem's got to fix, be patient. I'd been patient. Too patient, sitting there eyeing the barn's padlocked workshop. It clicked. Dad taught me welding, shaping metal to endure. If it shouldn't break, don't build it like it will. He'd said next on. I opened that door, oil and memory wafting out. The welder sat under a tarp, steel pipes and scraps. Solid beneath dust, everything I needed. I sketched the new Sam, same hat, flannel straw. Outside, inside steel spine, welded arms base, sunk 2 feet deep. Brenda's SUV would meet its match disguised as the old Scarecrow. Sparks flew as I worked, radio humming. Brenda drove by, likely expecting defeat. I didn't look up. Let her think she'd won. Rumors swirled, steel pip in my truck, sparked talk of fences or surrender. Sheriff Dan and Maggie shot knowing glances but stayed. Mom, I welded late frogs, croaking. Stars blazing each joint, a vow to dad the land. Every soul facing a Brenda Sam became a monument finished. He looked unchanged, flannel jeans stitched grin, but steel hummed beneath bolted firm arms, unyielding. He stood at dawn where he'd always been. ISA coffee fog lifting. Waiting, Brenda wouldn't resist. She came fast, fog still thick, her SUV growling. I rocked on the porch as she squinted at Sam, then gunned it, tearing through corn straight for him. The crash thundered her bumper. Crumpled headlights burst, airbags slammed her face. Sam stood at askew, but steady steam hissed. Crows flapped. I ambled over, coffee in hand, as Brenda wrestled the airbag, shrieking, "What did you do?" "Just put Sam back," I said. She stumbled out for dangling, jabbing a finger. "You booby-trapped it. I'll sue vandalism, attempted murder." I stifled the laugh. "Murder. You drove onto my land to kill a Scarecrow." Her face blazed. "I'll call the sheriff, please do." I said. An hour later, Sheriff Dan arrived. Brenda ranted, hopping mad, claiming I'd weaponized Sam. Dan listened, then checked him. Tugged sleeves, tapped the chest. IED, the bass well-built Scarecrow. He shrugged, sturdy but legal. Brenda gaped. "It's a death trap. You trespassed and hit an immovable object." Dan said. "That's on you," she went on me. "I'll sue you dry." "Good luck," I smiled. Dan ushered her off, hinting at trespassing charges. She glared from her wrecked SUV as the tow truck hauled it away. Townsfolk, Earl, Maggie, even Dan with tea watched, grinning. Brenda's shame was public. Now quiet followed, tense, expectant. Brenda H up, curtains shut, no drives. By I tended fences, cattle glancing at Sam. Steel beneath straw, guarding firm. Then came her counterattack, a wax-sealed letter threatening lawsuits, endangerment, distress, claiming I rigged Sam to ruin her. I laughed over coffee, filing it with junk mail. She had no case, just desperation after wrecking her SUV and pride. But I'd been ready since Sam first fell. Sheriff Dan dropped by casual in jeans with Maggie sandwiches. "She's filing charges," he said. "Endangerment, damage, manslaughter for a Scarecrow." I chuckled. He smirked. Brenda logic. I handed him a thumb drive, trail cams, barn footage. GoPros capturing every hit. Her grin's the note. "You sure?" he asked. "Time she learns." I said. I Sam by week's end. Brenda bragged at the diner about burying me in court. Then mid-Saturday, papers hit her outside the hardware store. Trespassing, destruction, harassment, endangerment. Her jaw dropped, silence, deafening. The town hummed, church potlucks, gas stations. A bus, her HOA ousted her insurance, ditched her fees piled up. 2 weeks later, Brenda packed a rental SUV solo, frantic bins and bags stuffed in. I watched from the fence as she LED dust. Trailing neighbors peered, relief thick. She was gone. Sam stood proud, sporting a sheriff's badge from Dan. Unofficial, but a town laugh that sunset orange and pink. I toasted Sam from the porch. "Good work, pal." The farm breathed easy. Brenda's storm passed. Sam, steel-hearted, wasn't just a Scarecrow. He was proof. Stand quiet, stand strong. And you win. I'd rebuild him anytime, but she'd never dare return.